Hi, I'm Gracie with The Rooted Hearth, and if you're new here, I'm on a journey to my forever homestead, or I should say, we are on a journey to our forever homestead. This is my husband, Scott. He is not present on the videos a whole lot, but he is ever present in my life. And as you guys know, one of the big pushes this year is fixing our finances. And the first step to that, right out the gate, we decided to do No Spend January. And we did this for a couple reasons. One, to monitor what we do spend on and what's needed. And then also, we're both kind of extraneous spenders. We like to just buy the things we want to buy. Yep. So to set it up, I went through our budget and determined what were necessities, mortgage, bills, things like that. And then we each had a small budget of like extra things so that we weren't just sitting in a cave twiddling our thumbs. Scott is a very active 3D printer, and so he had a resin budget and a budget for his favorite Patreons. And then I have a small budget to do social things. But aside from those aspects, we can't spend any extra stuff. No Amazon purchases, no fun little things that caught my eye off TikTok, just the bare basics. And what we're hoping for by the end of this is we've been able to pay down extra debt and have a little bit of a savings buffer. Yeah. So to talk about it, like what are our initial feelings? Like how did you feel about the concept of doing No Spend January?
Good. We've needed to do it for a while. I think we both agreed. We've tried once before, but and as will be an issue with something like this, you can make a budget, but if an emergency comes up, you've got to try and cover it one way or another. And that's basically what happened to us the first time we tried this. Last year in September was emergency came up and we had to cover that, and then at that point the budget was essentially blown for that month anyways. And it helps me, and I assume us, to look at when something comes up that's maybe not an emergency but a sudden unexpected expense. Then you look at it and say, well, is this worth overspending into the budget, or can I do something else, or can this wait out of this month and into a different month's budget perhaps. I don't know if it's a good example or not. I didn't really ask you, but I know you have budgets for a number of different things. Rotating further and further away.
We are on swivel chairs that don't lock, so
cut this out of the video.
I'm not going to.
So I can start over. One of the things you budgeted for a few different things. One of the things you budgeted for was the dogs.
Yep.
One of the things
we have dog groceries, dog medicine.
And one of the dogs now has food requirements, and you got those cheap turkeys. Were those part of the dog's budget, or was that just such a good deal that?
So as of right now, so it was 3 turkeys, roughly $20 to $25 a piece. Right now we are on track for dog food budget, but they were kind of an extra. Yeah. So like if it works for Simon, because he has to have a very high protein diet and whatnot, and it does last, if the 3 turkeys last us the month, we're probably good. Right. But if they don't, and we don't have a really firm grasp of like how much pounds of meat he needs a week. Yep. Then we'll be over budget for that.
Right. And I wondered if, that was something that I imagine you had a different view going into the month what that budget and what you were going to purchase for was, but then this came up and it was a really good price, and then I assume you had to decide, well, is this worth getting and not? And the answer almost certainly was yes. Yeah. At that price, working out, it looks like it was better than the gizzards we'd been getting. Which is good. Yeah,
and so like his rough food budget just for himself is like roughly $25 a week. Right. So again, if the turkeys last to the end of the month, that would do
cover it. Right. And trying to think if there's any other examples of stuff that came up similar to that this month.
Well, not for you. So I do have the social budget, but I'm kind of like trying my best to avoid it.
Yeah.
Including not going out to dinner with friends and things like that. Though I have a very generous best friend who has insisted on paying for me a couple times. But things I didn't think about is one of my coworkers is retiring, so contributing to her retirement fund. And then I haven't discussed this with you. They want me to do a balloon decoration, which would probably come out of my budget of things. On the one hand, like, it shouldn't like take me past my budget.
Right.
It's not necessarily fun, but when I start doing the actual balloon arches as like a service I provide, then I'll have additional resources.
Right.
So it's one of those like, eh.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work from home. I don't go out to eat much, so my budget tends to be fairly low for those types of things. And you cover,
Yeah.
you're the one who does the shopping for the most part, so you're the one who is kind of in the weeds with covering a lot of that stuff. So you see a lot of that stuff a lot more close up than I do.
Yeah, and that's, I would say, one of the groceries budget is something I set restrictive, not like super restrictive, but like on average, and they're going to be guests, I'm sure, we spend between $300 and $400 on groceries. Now, a week. Now that includes dog stuff, that includes cleaning the house items.
It's not just food, it's all the groceries that we'll spend on.
So for the month budget, I took 250, which would be 50 less than our lower side, times out by the number of weeks in January. And I think it's like $1,250 is like the budget for this month for groceries. So first week I was $50 under, second week I was $50 over.
Right.
But it's one of those things, especially as we're coming towards the end of the month, to stay on track with that budget, I may have to make choices about like, what are we gonna eat? You know, pasta's way cheaper than pork, things like that. You know, it doesn't mean we'll have a decreased quality of life, but.
No. Well, and I assume, like, I know we have and have for a while had a good idea of like what we're spending on stuff, but going through something like this will also give us a stark view of just what are we spending and where's the money going specifically.
Yeah.
Because I know you're keeping close track on everything that's going out, and then you know, maybe the last week of the month might be a little tighter.
Yeah.
We're eating maybe something we don't normally like, but next month we're not going to do quite so hefty a budget. So then you're kind of have a little bit of relief. And the idea is, I don't know how often we'll do this through the year, but the idea is we'll be doing this a few more times through the year. Which
probably.
I think is a really good idea. Like I said, so far it's, you know, I think it's working out pretty good.
Yeah. And one of our like main goals for this month was paying off your credit card, which we're on track to do. So we got about 2/3 of it paid down now.
Short of something weird going into the last week, that should be paid down to zero.
And then we'll also have a little bit of a savings buffer, but we'll cut to that at the end of the month to discuss what went well.
Yeah.
Is there anything that has like got you stressed, either like going into it or currently, or anything you were anxious about?
Taking a realistic view of your budgeting and your income versus what you're paying out is always a little bit hard and always a little bit stressful. But honestly, no, it's something that we've kind of needed to do for a while, and I think we both have known that. And again, we did try to do that last September, but even before that, we'd been looking at kind of what we were paying and stuff like that, and had started really thinking about it really last year, which was supposed to have been the year of getting our finances in order anyways. Didn't turn out to be that. Too many things came up in 2022.
2022, the year of
unexpected
cost and travel.
Yeah. And this year looks like it'll be, of course it's only January, but it looks like it'll be more on track to being able to do that.
Yeah.
No, again, from my thing right now, like the bank account stuff looks pretty good for being halfway through the month and for going through this. And again, you're the one who is setting up the budget and the one that does most of the paying of bills and things. That require choices anyways, like groceries and stuff
Yeah.
like that. That like that's happily just not a stress that I generally have. I don't often go around the house and go, oh, we need this, and then put
Yeah.
it on the Amazon cart. The stuff that I pay tends to be pretty frivolous
Yeah.
things. So in cutting that down, that's fine. I've got stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'd make it through the month if I didn't have to pay anything. I wouldn't feel like I was living in a cave if my
That's
budget
good.
was zero for a month. I think I could get through that.
Nice. One, finances super stresses me out. So like the prep work to like go through all of our accounts and like look at the debt we owed and set the budget and be like, is this going to be too restrictive and am I setting us up for failure? Is this not restrictive enough and I think too easy on us? All that was really emotionally stressful for me. But like actually executing now, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
I think the hardest day was I had gotten some weird, stressful news at work. And normally, if I am stressed, I'm an emotional eater. I would grab fast food.
Yeah.
And I super wanted some French fries. So, like, I couldn't do that. That's not within our budget. We're not doing any of that stuff. So I got to come home and I did make some homemade fries. But like that's hard. Like those moments where like, and that's part of the reason we're doing this, is like your emotions sway your financial choices.
And I will point out we did end up spending 3 or 4 days drinking soda, which was
Well, yeah,
technically probably shouldn't be in the budget more than just
still-
one day.
technically grocery.
Yeah. I mean,
Gray area.
yeah. It's one of those things you got to think about.
Yeah. So yeah, that is where we are. We are approximately halfway through the month right now.
Yeah.
A couple more weeks to go. Any thoughts before we check back in with ourselves in about 2 weeks?
No.
Fair. Same.
Okay.
Good luck us. So, in internet magic, let's see how we're doing at the end of the month. And through the magic of the internet, we're at the end of January.
Yay.
Very specifically, we're on evening of January 31st.
Yep.
So we have survived No Spend January.
Yep.
Thoughts at the end of it?
I thought January went pretty good.
Yeah, I think so too.
I didn't have too many issues with going under a heavy budget of no spend.
That's true.
We didn't keep to it exactly 100% though either.
We did not. Speaking of that, we had a few, especially at the end, time-sensitive choices.
Yeah.
That it was kind of like, well, we're either going to spend this money or we're just going to miss out on it completely.
Yeah.
And that included a Steam sale, Steam being a game platform, and then also a Kickstarter to support.
Both being fairly inexpensive.
Yeah. You got a game through the Steam sale that would have been more expensive otherwise, and it's one you've been wanting for a while.
Yep.
And then the Kickstarter was actually my fault because I decided to start browsing Kickstarter. I'm a big fan of supporting games through there, and sure enough, I found one that ended like January 28th.
Yep.
And then the sale ended like January 30th. So those were some of our unexpected costs that were like choices we made to not follow the budget.
Yeah.
We also had a few things come up that were surprises. For me, that included going to the gym one day, not having a shirt for work, and because of time and whatnot, having to purchase a new shirt. And then I ended up doing taxes before February. Typically, we get enough of a refund that we use TurboTax. Is like, hey, we can just take this out of your return, but that wasn't the case this year. They're like, you have to pay us. And so that was like $150 but that isn't inevitable. If it wasn't this month, it would have been next month or whenever we did taxes.
Yeah.
So it wasn't exactly an optional thing. And then we had a couple things come up subscription-wise that were surprises. One being a while back, I did a trial of the Google Business subscription, and I kept forgetting to cancel it, and it'd be a surprise every time. So that was like $11. It came through, and I found which account it was tied to and canceled it, so that was a success. And then turns out we have a duplicate subscription.
Yeah, to Incarnate.
Yep.
For Dungeons and Dragons.
It's a map making thing. It was kind of a scary moment, if you will, for us.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be a yearly subscription. And so it was supposed to be a yearly subscription. And so I've been looking every few days, tracking each individual purchase we've made, income, all that stuff, every few days, keep track of it. And so I knew it came out in December, and then I saw it come through in January.
Yeah, tail end of December, which is when I, turns out, ordered a second
subscription.
Account, and then it came out in January, and we were wondering, oh, maybe I misunderstood. Maybe this was a monthly thing. At that price, I didn't want that to be a monthly thing, but it turned out I had apparently ordered it literally a year ago and had forgotten all about that. So,
which was good, because we're watching our finances so closely. I'm not sure we would have caught 2 subscriptions to that otherwise.
We might not have. I mean, that was, especially the subscription stuff, is one of the good things that came out of this was catching some of those things.
Yeah.
That's, for a lot of people, that's very easy to lose, especially when they're just $5, $10, $15 among the stuff that you pay for in a month. You might just simply lose that if you're not watching your bank statement pretty much every day, every couple of days.
So for unexpected, unplanned expenditures, we are at about $280 over the month. If you take the taxes out of that, about $140 of little things that we didn't anticipate spending on. Some of those included we ended up with a quarter for a birthday present for my friend's niece. But it came out to that because I have a gift card, and it ended up being 25 cents over what the gift card was. I had a coworker retire, and then also a coworker who had an unexpected stroke, and we pull money for those types of things in our office. For that stuff, I had a Venmo balance that kind of, it's just an ongoing, people send me money for stuff, I send people money for stuff. And so that didn't really come out of our budget money, because that was not a thing I had factored in anyways. It was the Venmo account. But those were things that had come up. Yeah. And definitely things that when we do our next no spend month, I'll probably budget in a random,
a little leeway. There's just kind of shows you a lot of the different things that come up in a month that you don't kind of realize are eating into your what's going out. One of the examples, I don't know if you go over those as a line item thing, but you were talking about your gas went over $25, and that's one of those things where you can kind of estimate how much gas you're going to use in a month, but sometimes you've got an extra couple of trips you got to take for one reason or another. It's a lot of times those are the type of thing that you kind of can't avoid. You've got to do it one way or another.
Yeah, and when I budgeted that item, I literally was just well, for my normal travel, I fill up once every 2 weeks, and that's how I had budgeted it. But I didn't consider my trip I would have to make down to Centerville for work. So that was kind of where the extra fill up came in. Yeah. Speaking of that, for the things we did budget for, we went over on a few things, which included gas by $25, human groceries by about $55, which honestly I think is really good. I'm an emotional eater. And so we had 2 essentially snack extra shopping trips.
That we're not budgeted for.
They were not budgeted for. So the fact that we're in snack grocery trips tend to be anywhere between $50 and $100.
Yeah, that could be.
Because they include soda and then snacks, which tend to be more expensive items of groceries. So I think all things considered, that's pretty good.
Those also tend to be days where we get fast food, which we
Yes.
didn't this month.
No,
we did
no
really
fast
good about
food.
Not getting fast food.
I'm the only one who, well, Desmond's not a part of this. He uses So Buddy. Between the 2 of us, I'm the only one who ate out at all, and I was treated to those meals. And then dog groceries, we were over by 21 cents,
Yeah.
which is pretty good, I think.
That was we discussed that. I think in the first thing it was a little surprising because this was the month where you grabbed those 3 turkeys,
And ended up buying a 4th turkey.
and that ended up being part of the
Yep.
dog budget. Anyways, it still didn't go over, which
Yeah.
means either you budgeted really well or it ended up coming in about what you expected. Yeah, I was a little surprised that didn't go over,
Yeah.
especially this month.
As far as like things that were under budget, we were roughly $50 under for human medicine, which is not surprising. I don't know, 6 months ago, a few of my prescriptions switched from like monthly to like
3 months.
every 90 days.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a firm grasp on like
Yeah.
which ones would be coming due this month and whatnot. So I'd essentially built a budget that would accommodate all of them coming due.
Yeah, and then budget-wise, that means that instead of spreading it out a little bit every month, it's going to be kind of a bigger
Yep.
buy every time those come up. So that's something we've got to watch out for.
Yeah. For better or worse, I kind of like just getting all my medicines at once. They are not the 90-day ones do not come up in the same month.
Yeah,
So annoying for me to have to go,
they're offset.
but cheaper for those months. And then we were $64 under budget for dog medicine. So
That surprises me. Are you? Where is Simon's?
that is some dog medicine.
Is that medicine?
Mhm.
Yeah, that surprises me.
So we spent roughly $90 on dog medicine. So,
Okay,
yep,
go us.
go us. And then all told, between the minuses and the positives, we're actually under budget by roughly $32.
Cool.
So that is not including the unplanned expenses. That's just the budget items.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you include the unplanned ones, we're
I see.
we're roughly 250 over.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that includes the tax.
Yeah, that includes. Some very positive things. Big focus this year for us is paying down debt.
Yep.
And we have a 10K goal, and we have specific debts we're focusing on. So some of our successes were we paid $1,600 towards the debts we want to pay down. But that includes our typical monthly payments on those things anyways. But it included an additional $1,000 of stuff that we paid down debt-wise, which is fantastic, I
Yeah,
think.
that's great.
We're 1/10 of the way towards our goal. Well, technically, almost like 15% of the way for if you count the normal payments. But an additional 1K towards that 10K.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty stoked about. And then on top of that, all told, debt-wise, we've paid $3,000 towards debt. That includes our mortgage, which is $1,000 a month, roughly. And then on top of that, we paid 2 things off. One credit card and one of our cell phones. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Big successes for me, I think, kind of just proving like I didn't feel really deprived at all this month. There's a few times where like not being able to go grab quick food was annoying.
Yeah.
But then we were still able to pay down extra debt. We have a small amount in savings. We got an unexpected like $100 from someone, and so we threw that in savings. So I would say those are kind of the highlights of it for me. What about you?
Highlights, I think the two big things for me was now that we're at the end of the month that we've successfully gone through
Yes.
it, where the first time we kind of had issues and you know weren't able to do that. And again, if we had the same issues that came up this month, we probably wouldn't have been able to do it this month either, but we were able to do it, and it kind of shows, oh, well, maybe, not maybe, but a couple months down the line, we can do this again, and it won't be a stressful, oh my gosh,
No.
how's it going to work? I think the other main thing would be it allows us to have a really good look at what our debts are and what's coming in and what's going out and where it's going. And like I said, the like reoccurring things is a really good example of, oh, now we caught a couple of those, and next month, you know, that won't be something coming out when we don't need to be paying it. The Incarnate subscription won't be in next year, won't be a thing that suddenly shows up. And I think that went really well. For me, you know, I don't eat out a lot. I don't mind not eating fast food in a month. So I believe we talked about this in the first video too, but I kind of figured it wouldn't be nearly as stressful on me as it might be on you, mainly because you're also primarily the one that's looking at our budgets and stuff like that. I think it went real well. I think it's my big thing. My big takeaway is we did it and accomplished what we were looking at going into doing it.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. One of the lessons I learned from doing all this, and I wouldn't say it's like a new lesson, it's like a reminder lesson. As stuff came up through the month, I would put it in the Amazon cart. Because like I viewed them as like a potential need, something I would do and whatnot. Some of that stuff won't be going into like an Amazon cart next month. Like I either found ways around it, or I became emotionally invested in that idea.
Sure.
Having said that, a celebratory end of No Spend January, Desmond and I will be getting matching mushroom shirts, so we can be a couple of fun guys.
Hooray.
Any lessons you took away from this month?
I think a good lesson to take away, and I think it's one that this helps reinforce, certainly, is having a budget and trying to stick to it is just really important for, you know, economic health.
Yeah.
It's not something that we've lived under much together. It's really not something I lived under alone as a single person, really. And it's one of those things when you have an idea of what you can spend on something, it also makes it easier to be forward thinking and say, well, this would put me over that budget. Maybe I don't need this. Yeah. Or, hey, I budgeted for this. I can go ahead and get that, and kind of have you like proactively deciding what you can and can't buy in a month or 6 months or whatever your budget happens to be.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like the budget for me throughout my life has been my income, you know, not overdrafting essentially. And I haven't always successfully done that. And so like really looking at both what historically I have spent and then also like what I reasonably can like restrict my spending in was definitely a learning moment. And we'll continue to track our spending throughout the year because that's a priority.
Yeah.
Next steps. I'm reading a book called Financial Feminism or something like that, which I will drop below. But in chapter 2, they talk about spending and how like there's this stereotype of like people are either savers or spenders. And she really talks about like we're all spenders, like we all spend money. And like kind of an action step she recommends is like tracking your spending, but not just that, but like the emotional side of it. So like when you drop $385 on groceries, what's that emotion for you? Like does it bring up? And there's definitely like, when I did my normal grocery trips this month, I was just like, this is a neutral feeling of I need to feed my family, things like that. But the snack trips, there's definitely guilt attached to it. Sure. Both because I was already in a negative mental space and then like doing extra spending because of that. So next month as I'm tracking, I will be noting like my emotional ties to it. Yeah. And as the like home spender, I think that makes sense. Other steps forward that we'll be taking, I think we'll definitely do more no spend months this year.
Yeah, I would definitely be down for that and be encouraged to, especially as we can this year to do that. We got some stuff later in the year that'll be costing us some money.
Yep, Desmond going to college, things like that.
Graduation ceremony.
Oh yeah. May not a no spend month.
No.
But so discussing which months we'll do no spend months, and then for the things we paid off, we'll be taking those payments and rolling them into whatever we're paying off next.
Yeah.
So there's a few small things that in February I just know we're gonna just check those boxes. There are one or two of the things we want to pay off this year that even if we just pay the bare minimum, we'll be paying those off. But if we can pay them off sooner, great.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are our action steps forward.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
I'm excited to finally be able to do a year of doing our finances.
Oh my God, me too. It was so defeating last year to be like, this will be the year of finance. And then literally...
Right off the bat, it was not.
It was the year of unexpected costs.
It was the year of calamity after calamity.
It was. It was not a bad year.
No.
It had bad moments.
Yep.
But it was not the year of fixing our finances,
No.
that's for sure. So, yeah. If you want to learn more about what we're doing financially throughout this year, if you want to see if we pay off 10K, hit subscribe. If you like seeing Scott in these videos, boop that like button. Otherwise, tell me what you're doing financially to meet your goals in the years to come. I'll see you guys next time.
Go ahead and accept notifications.
Do that. If you hit the little ring bell, you'll be...
I don't know why you would, but do it.
We don't subscribe to a lot of notifications. But you'd get notified every time we post a video. All right, see you guys next time. Hey. You gonna hang out with Mom?